hello and welcome to yet another series of Prabhav. And we're here with our next guest in the house. And without any further ado, I do want to introduce to all of viewers out here Prarthana Murugavel. First off, how are you doing, Prarthana?
I'm doing great. How are you?
It's your first podcast from what I heard.
Yeah.
And a quick insights to all my viewers out here today. I did not know Pratna was pretty close to being my next door neighbor, yet so talented, and she's made a considerable amount of attention, at least in the racing sport event world, at least in our country. So, Pratna, I don't want to jump into the introduction altogether, but I want to change the game a little different over here. I want to keep speaking of it as we hit our shots all together. You have been one of our first and main women drivers who to represent like at least the country at a national, international level. So before I jump into anything, what position does that put you in? Because we just spoke prior to the interview, and you told me that you've only started this pretty recently, which is around 1920, if
Yeah.
I'm not wrong.
So I started racing in the year 2021, February of 2021.
All right.
But I've been watching and following motorsports since like 2014.
Okay.
And I think like when I got into it, I was like, yeah, there's no coming out of it now. And yeah, like I had a very late introduction to being a part of motorsports. But I think like if you put the mind to it, like anyone can do anything.
Did it live up to the expectations of what you saw, and when you got yourself actually into the sport, did did it all make sense that this was meant for me altogether?
I mean, definitely, but then also a lot of people tend to underestimate how much it takes to actually like professionally race. So, and even for me, like the amount of the physically, mentally, like everything, it was quite a lot. And you don't see that side of it when they telecast any sort of motorsport event. So yeah, that was like eye-opening.
So starting off with the journey altogether, what was your first milestone when you decided to get into the motorsport game
I think I was
altogether?
convincing my parents, my mom was
That was the biggest challenge out of it altogether.
first of many, but yeah.
All right. And what would you say was your first race? Where did that happen, and how did the journey altogether start?
Okay, so my first, what usually happens is you do a lot of testing and practice before you're allowed to enter a race. You need to obtain a national license for racing. So I'd done my first ever training program with this team called Momentum Racing. It was at Curry Motor Speedway, and it was quite good. Like it was fun, and I learned a lot. And these are the series called Formula 1300 cars, the single-seater cars. They've got a 8 shift, like your regular road cars, but only one person can sit. So yeah, that was my first ever experience in a race car. I didn't go the normal route, which is usually everyone starts with karting and then they move up the ladder to cars. So I did cars first, and then came back to karting, and now I'm coaching. So yeah, it's been a bit of like back and forth, but that was my first experience in a race car.
You were telling me a story wherein you said people, like at least trying to make it out here, the world of sporting has gotten way too competitive and they're starting in very young. And you told one of your students was around 6-7 years, if I'm not wrong.
Yeah.
Is that actually true?
Yes. So in India, like to race, you need to have your 7th birthday on that year, 7th or 8th, I'm not sure. So
What is 18-year-old license anymore? No, I don't think anyone knows about
so this
it.
is for karting.
All right.
When you get into cars, you need to be 14 or 15 years old, and then you get your car racing license. But for
right.
karting, you start quite young.
Okay.
So you've got kids in Europe and stuff, and they're in a kart when they're 3-4 years old. So 7 and 8 is quite late in comparison.
True.
So,
We're getting there. We're getting there one day at a time. But what do you say, at least in a country like ours, how do you think the sport is coming up? Because I think we've had our ups and downs with the entire sporting, the race sporting event altogether. I think we've had a Force India team that was there once upon a time. We had a circuit and altogether, but I think we've seen our ups and downs. But what is the competition like in our country? And if driven the right way, how far do we have the potential to go?
I think there's a lot of potential, and the sad thing is it's not discovered because it's such an expensive sport. So a lot of people drop out. The ones that really have a lot of talent, they're not able to pursue any further because of like how expensive the sport is, and it gives way to like people who do have the money and maybe not all that talented. Some of them are very talented. So it's like a mixed group of people who do like go up. But there's still a lot more. Like I think as a country, like there's a lot of scope and things are changing. Like there's a lot more awareness now about motorsport in general, whether it's like, bikes or dirt or rallying, circuit. Like there's so many
And
different
India does give
types.
one of the highest viewership altogether, I think, for F1 and any other sport out there. You have a favorite racer and team out there?
I'd say Red Bull.
Okay.
It started with Sebastian Vettel, but currently my favorite driver is Max.
Okay, all right. Verstappen all the way. That's amazing, and he's been doing pretty good with the last season. I think he had
Ups and
he had his
downs,
ups and downs, but he's making his way through being one of the most consistent racers of all time at the moment. Do you resonate with him in a lot of ways in terms of when you pull up to a race and how the mindset works altogether?
I think I'd aspire to be more like him
Okay.
because
And what are the attributes to look at?
I think the
Inspired.
whole there's like he's almost always like whatever happens I'm gonna like get in front, and the way the other people know. I think Oscar Piastri had made this comment about it's not a matter of when Max overtakes, like it's not a matter of if he overtakes, it's a matter of when he overtakes.
True.
So like having that character and having people view me like that is something that I definitely aspire to be.
I think motor racing altogether does show you like one lesson in life, that even a 0.2 second or 0.1 second plays a very big difference in the overall making of a race.
Definitely.
How much of like that do you associate with timeliness in terms of your life altogether? Are you a quick person, instant to get things done altogether in reality as well?
Depends. Like if I'm motivated enough, then yes. If I'm not, then I procrastinate
It's
quite a
something I like
bit.
altogether. Awesome, that's amazing. That's really good to hear. Coming to our next question, I want to know, outside of racing, what does Prarthana Murugavel enjoy doing at a time? What is it that you do outside of racing? Considering it's a very expensive sport, it's like we make time. I'm giving it my 100%. But outside of that, what
So
is it?
I do like very passionate about design. Did my bachelor's in design. So that's been going. I do a lot of freelance projects. I love glass painting, so I do a lot of commissioned glass painting work.
Am I kind of hinting at the fact that, okay, maybe like going forward, if F1 is not going to happen this time, I might be designing cars altogether? Is that somewhere in the back
So
of
I
your head?
don't do like transportation or like automobile design.
Oh, really?
I studied industrial design, so I worked
Okay.
with a lot of museum spaces. So maybe
Wow.
like an F1 inspired museum, definitely.
That would be something that India would definitely love to have. I think we have a lot of fans out here who would love to see something like that altogether. Pratna, you've been mentioned as one of the most promising women drivers out there that our country has ever had. What sort of pressure does that put onto you, and what does it take to maintain it to stay at the top at all times?
I think more than pressure, it's just from at least for me, it's sad that there are such few women in motorsports. So the pressures comes into play when I want to bring more people into the sport, which is why I took up my coaching responsibilities with Peregrine Racing, because building and growing the sport and like having that inclusivity is like very important to me. So I think that's where the pressure comes in. But as long as you're dedicated and you're putting in the effort and you're doing the best that you can, I think results always show in terms of like racing. So that side, like I mean, always there's a lot of pressure for performance that I put on myself, like any other driver. But bringing more people into the sport, that's the biggest one.
It's amazing. And coming to our last and final question before we leave you and like conclude this interview altogether, I want to know, like, 2024 has been a cutthroat year for a lot of people. A lot of people had to pull through, make things happen, and yet we're always out here inspiring, motivating. What is the best way and what is the right mindset to drift your way through 2025? Your final message to our viewers on this very day.
I think like my final message is just that everyone should just do the best that they can, because everything will fall into place. That's what I've learned from 2024, and I'm hoping that like I'm able to keep that mentality through 25.
That's amazing. That's really good to hear. That's Pratna's message on the occasion of New Year's, Prabhav's special podcast for 2025. And Prarthana, before we let you go, we have a small token of appreciation that we want to hand over to you from Vimoy Foundation. And this little plant for you.
Thank you
So
so much. I
you
love
could remember
plants.
us by for your next tournament and altogether. This is our good lucks from
Thank
Vimoy
you.
Foundation.
Thank you so much.
And to all our viewers watching this, do subscribe to our channel, do hit the bell icon for further notifications on more such inspiring and motivational talks only on Vimoy Foundation's YouTube channel. This has been your host, Vedant Shindhe, and I will see you until the next episode. Thank you and have a nice day.